Hello everyone and welcome to another Pyro Gaming video. In this video we're going to be talking about how to fix Destiny 2, although to be fair, Destiny 2 is a great game, it just needs a few things added to it to really be what everybody wants it to be, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So starting off, let's go ahead and compare Destiny 1 at the vanilla release to Destiny 2 at its vanilla release, what we're currently going through now. So right off the bat, Destiny 1 on paper, looking back, it kind of seems like it had less content, but in actuality, it actually had more content because you had Nightfalls, you had Heroic Strikes, you had several different strike playlists. I think that there was 3 different strike playlists of varying difficulties at vanilla launch. You had a bunch of story missions, and granted, they weren't all that great. You know, the dialogue and everything was just kind of trash. It was very thrown together. But, there was so many different things that you could go and play, as opposed to just doing the same thing over and over. Now, Destiny 2, on the other hand, comes out of the gate with one of the best stories that I have honestly ever played. It's such classic Bungie, and it was so good, especially the final few missions. They were so beautifully done, very captivating, it sucks you in, it gets you into it, gets your blood going, but unfortunately, after you beat the campaign, there's not really anything else to do. And I know what you guys are going to say, but Pyro, there's a strike playlist you can go do. There's Crucible you can go do. There's the little side missions and adventures and patrols and side quests and all that stuff, and that's all fine and dandy, guys. And, like I said, on paper, it seems like a lot of content, but let's be honest, nobody is just going to go and loot the same lost sectors over and over and over to get 750 Glimmer and 2 Blues and a Chuck E. Cheese token for whatever planet you're on? Like, you're not gonna... That's not content. That's something that once you've done it, there's no real reason to go back and do it again. And same can be said for the strike playlist. I would love to see Heroic Strikes return with modifiers each week that are on a weekly reset, and I would love to see strike scoring come back, because it is a way to take something that you have that you do a lot and make it new and seem revamped. I feel like if Destiny 2 would have launched in place of Destiny 1, as in if we started with Destiny 2, what we have right now, it would be fine. Nobody would be complaining because we'd have nothing to compare it to. But after 3 years of Destiny 1, you look back and you think to yourself like, oh, well, there's all this stuff that became a way of life, like the strike scoring, like the random rolls on weapons and armor, like the heroic strikes and the other strike playlist, like all of this stuff became a way of life, and for us transitioning from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2, we kind of expect to have all that stuff, carry over with us. And I'm not talking about weapons and armor. I'm talking about the general way of life for the game itself. Now, when you look at Destiny 2's weekly reset, and this is where I have the biggest problem with Destiny 2, is there's honestly nothing to do, man. Like, I find myself signing on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and just having nothing left to do for the rest of the week. That wasn't the case in Destiny 1. Now, I know what you guys are going to say, but Pyro, Destiny 1 was up for 3 years. They had 3 years worth of content. Of course, there's going to be more stuff. And I'm not arguing that whatsoever. But again, we are comparing vanilla Destiny 1 at its release to vanilla Destiny 2 at its release. I'm not talking about post-Rise of Iron Destiny 1. I'm talking about vanilla Destiny 1, where you had the heroic strikes, where you had the random weapon rolls, where you had all this stuff that gave you a reason to sign on and play the game, even though you had already done all of your in-game activities. And on the subject of in-game activities, Destiny 2 is severely lacking. My weekly reset routine is I will sign on and go do whatever the flashpoint is for the week. I will go to that destination and farm my public events, which I'm getting so tired of doing. I have seriously, like on the little emblem that shows you how many heroic public events you've completed, I have seriously completed about 400 of them, and that's not including the ones that I did not trigger heroic on, which is probably going to add at least another 100 to 150. Like, I'm so tired of playing patrol and just running around, getting these Chuck E. Cheese tokens for each destination to turn them in and get weapons that I don't need because I've already got all the good weapons that, those destinations offer. Same goes for the Gunsmith, same goes for the Vanguard, same goes for Ikora, same goes for everything. And it's really disheartening, man. Like, the grind for the Luminous Engrams, aka the powerful gear that will actually drop up to 300 and 305 with a mod, I mean, it's so repetitive, man. Like, even with the Flashpoint being on a different destination each week, even with, those destinations featuring a mini-boss, so to speak, in that area, like, the Cabal excavation brings in the dog on the EDZ, like, even little things like that don't make it new enough for me. And some of you may say, but Pyro, what about the live events? What about the faction rally? That was pretty cool. What about Iron Banner? That was pretty cool. And that was cool. But it did not bring anything different to Destiny 2. The faction rally, it was literally like, hey, go do some, go loot some lost sectors, go play some Crucible, and go do some public events. That's how you're going to get your tokens for the faction rally. It's literally like, go do all the stuff that you've already been doing over and over and over and over again, and then you can get some of these rescanned weapons. Same for Iron Banner. It's just control. And with the fact that Iron Banner no longer features, or Trials of the Nine for that matter, because they no longer feature light level enabled damage, I mean, it's just regular Crucible. It's literally like, just go do this stuff that you could do literally any day of the week if you wanted to, for a chance to get some of this reskinned weapons that honestly aren't very good. And they're going to be set rolls, so if you get a weapon that you don't like, you have absolutely no choice but to throw it away. And, Bungie mentioned before Destiny 2 even came out, they did this whole big article in Edge magazine. I believe it was Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy that were the people that did the interview. And they asked them, with weapons and armor having set roles, what are you going to do to incentivize people who get the same role or get the same weapon multiple times? And they said that they're working on something now to make, your second, third, fifth, 10th Better Devil's Hand Cannon, just an example. But, like, they're working on a way to make that rewarding. And then, come to find out, when Destiny 2 actually launched, they had not perfected that new system, so they weren't able to implement it into the game. And then here recently, within the past few days, there was another interview with Luke Smith where he brought it up and said, we're still looking at that. And in addition to that, we're still looking at, end-game rewards and how to make the game more, replayable, and how to incentivize people who actually do want to go out and put in the grind like we did in Destiny 1. But, at the same time, like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, there's a plethora of different ways that you can make it rewarding if, say, for example, you get a 7.65 scout rifle, you like it, you hang on to it, and you end up getting 6 more. Obviously, even if you have 3 characters, you have no use for 6 of the same weapon, so at most, you're only going to keep 3, which means that if you get 6, 3 of them are going to be instantly dismantled or infused into something else. And, like I said, there is just a plethora of ways that you can make it more rewarding for duplicate weapons. For example, if they're legendaries, have them drop at a guaranteed 305 if your light level is close enough to 305 to justify that. Have them where if you dismantle them, you get a few extra legendary marks, or maybe you can dismantle it into a mod. Maybe you can dismantle it into a shader. Maybe you can take it and trade it for a weapon that you don't have at the Gunsmith. I mean, there's so many different ways to do it, and it's going to be interesting to see how Bungie actually implements any change into that system. Now, as far as the end game, that's something that I've already talked about. You have Trials of the Nine, you have the Raid. Both of those are going to require you to have a solid fire team, a solid group of regulars that you can play with, communicate with, get along with. And if you don't have those key components, then you're not going to do those 2 activities successfully on a weekly basis. I mean, you might get lucky from time to time using a guided game. You might get lucky from time to time using LFG or some platform like that. But, for the most part, if you don't have that team ready and waiting, then you're not going to do those activities. So what are you left with? You have guided games for the Nightfall. Well, for the 240 version, you're not going to do the Prestige version unless you have that fire team that I was talking about. So aside from that, what do you have that is considered end game, meaning things that will get you to 305? You have a flashpoint. If you are in a clan, you can do 5,000 XP weekly clan contributions that will grant you a luminous engram. You have farming public events for exotic engrams. You have opening Cade 6 weekly chests that have a chance of giving you exotic engrams. And you have adventures on each destination that have a chance of giving you exotic engrams. And that is it, my dudes. Like, well, I suppose you could go farm the strike playlist for a chance at exotic engrams as well. But, you know, that's pretty much it. Like, that's what we have to do on a weekly basis in Destiny 2. And it's not enough, man. Like, there is no grind. There is nothing worth grinding for. I have absolutely no reason or desire to go into the strike playlist and just spend an hour doing strikes, spend 2 hours doing strikes. And that was something in Destiny 1 that I love to do. I love to just, you know, get a couple of buddies together and go jack around in the heroic strike playlist for hours at a time. And it was rewarding. It was, you know, fun. It was enjoyable. And now in Destiny 2, I mean, the strikes, they're okay. They're not terrible. The PlayStation 4 exclusive strike is absolute garbage. It's the worst strike in this game. But, you know, aside from that, you know, they're fun. I like fighting a huge harpy. I like fighting, you know, a huge goblin. I like fighting, you know, a massive shrieker. Like, it's really fun. It's really interesting. The strikes are built really well, but there's just not enough rewards for me to go do it. And, you know, aside from that, like, the only other thing that I could do if I wanted to, like, really put my shoes on and put my try-hard overalls on and, you know, like, I'm going to grind this shit for a couple hours is Crucible. And I do not like Crucible, man. I've said it before. I have said it in the past. I have said it currently, and I will continue to say it. I'm not a fan of PvP in Destiny. The only PvP that I like is stuff like Call of Duty, where, you know, 2 or 3 bullets to the head is going to kill an enemy. I like the more fast-paced type of PvP, and Destiny 1 or 2 does not offer that for me. I don't like the fact that you have a shield. I don't like the fact that you have to put half a clip into somebody to kill them. And I don't like the fact that every single season, quote-unquote, we have the meta weapons, and that's all anybody uses. And if you don't use them, you're at a disadvantage. I'm talking about you, Mida Multitool, and Uriel's Gift. Like, you know, if Bungie were to pay a little bit more attention to Crucible and get weapon patches and weapon balances out in a timely fashion, instead of waiting for a major update like a DLC, I could absolutely get into Crucible. But, you know, as far as it is right now, you can't tell me that the people over at Bungie don't know that Mida Multitool and Uriel's Gift are a problem, and they are being abused in the Crucible, and Bungie's just doing nothing about it. So that's my main reason that I'm not going to go grind the Crucible. But even if I did, even if I was into Crucible and I went and grinded the Crucible playlists for hours upon hours on end, I'm going to come out of it with nothing. I'm going to spend 2 or 3 hours, and I'm going to come out of it with stuff that I can get from just going and farming legendary engrams out in patrol and turning them in at the Cryptarch. I'm going to get stuff that, you know, from the gunsmith, from ranking him up, that, you know, I don't need. I already have it, you know? Like, I don't play Crucible, but I already have a better Devil's Hand Cannon. I already have the Vagabond Sniper that's really good. Like, I already have all the stuff from all these vendors that is worth having. So even with doing the quote-unquote end-game activities each and every week to get those luminous engrams that grant me powerful gear, at this point, I'm literally just grinding for light level to get, you know, that 300 and 305 gear to infuse into all of the other weapons that I might not use all the time. Like, at this point, my characters are already 305, and I haven't done a raid. Like, I always save my raids. Every time, you know, Destiny 1 came out with a new raid, I always save it for a few months because I know that this game is going to get dry. I know I'm going to get to a point where I'm just completely burnt out playing all the other activities, and that's why I save my raids, so that when that time comes, I have content that is new to me that I can now go grind each and every week and not get tired of it until we have something new. And in addition to that, I also do not like doing the normal version of the raid first. I like to start with the heroic versions of raids because I don't like to have to learn new mechanics. I don't like to, you know, get into a pattern with the normal raid and then have to change up my pattern for the heroic version. I'd rather just jump straight into heroic. That's how I did with Wrath of the Machine, that's how I did with Crota, that's what I did with Vault of Glass, and that is what I did with King's Fall. But, you know, to summarize all this up, Destiny 2 is lacking the grind. It's lacking the worthy end-game weekly reset rituals. You know, it needs the Heroic Strike playlist. It needs, you know, some kind of arena mode. Challenge of Elders would be so good in Destiny 2, or some kind of equivalent of it. And there actually has been a bit of a rumor that a Challenge of Elders style arena mode is going to make an appearance in Destiny 2 at some point within the first 2 DLCs. And I would personally absolutely love that, because that is an entirely new dynamic as opposed to everything else in this game, and it's super fun to me. That was one of my favorite things in Destiny 1 to do each week, was to go and grind the Challenge of Elders. But, you know, it needs different things. It needs new content. It needs different content, and it needs incentive. That is the most important thing that we're staring at right now, is there is no incentive to go do any of the activities that there is to do, other than, you know, just to get that powerful gear, you know, get that higher light level stuff. But anyway, guys, that's going to bring this video to an end. I just wanted to get all this out there, man. Like, this is how I feel about Destiny 2. I think it's a great game, but I think that it is lacking the grind majorly. I mean, it just has an absolute problem for me right now, and it's that there is nothing worth grinding for, and there is nothing to grind, even if there was something worth grinding for. But that's going to bring this video to an end, guys. Drop a comment in the box below and let me know what you think is holding Destiny 2 back. And if you could change it, what would you implement into this game to bring it up to a certain standard where you would play it each and every day like you did Destiny 1. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, click like. If you're new to the channel, click subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, I fucking love you. Thank you for watching, and take care, guys.